I'm Heinbach. Good to have you back. Today I want to try something special. I'm going to perform a patch on the ever-growing tower of test equipment here, and then I'm going to talk about how I patched this. I hope this will give some insight in how you can use these monolithic function generators, filters, and other devices not meant for music and create something musical with them. Because it's much more difficult than on a modular or any other synthesizer. You have to employ quite a lot of techniques that are probably unusual because they're not necessary in environments that have voltage control. So I'm going to play, and after that I'm going to talk. See you in a bit. So that is the track. Now let me show you how I put it together. The first sound that you're hearing comes from one of my most favorite machines, even though it's just big and dumb. It's the RC generator from Rohde & Schwarz. This is one of the first oscillators that I got, and it puts out a sine, and the sine can get a little crackly, but that sine sounds nice. And I run that whole thing into the Grundig-Schwebungsnummer up there, which I'll show you in a cutaway. And what this thing does is the Grundig takes the signal from the Schwebungsnummer, amplifies it, and then it adds its own oscillation. Back in the past, this was how you determined pitches. You ran one signal in there and then you matched it with the internal oscillator, so you could read what your pitch was. Both units are tube-based, heavy and pretty simple, but I love their tone. There's just something gentle and very pure about them. Listen to this for days. So, the next signal that comes in is a combination of many signals. The first one is this. Believe it or not, this is just one oscillator. This one. The Hewlett and Packard function generator. And I'm just playing two notes during the piece. But the plethora of effects down here makes it interesting. Let's switch them all off. This is the signal. I think we can all agree that this is exciting. Not. So the first thing that happens is the Warped Vinyl by Chase Bliss adds some modulation, both in pitch, but more so on the amplitude. And then the count to 5 adds harmonization. And then to give it space and a lovely bit crushed sound, in comes the AMA. As I said before, effects are the acoustic body of electronic sounds, and I think you can hear that this is very much true. This is one of the questions I get asked the most: how to create non-droning music with test equipment. So I found a unique way to do this for this patch, because I got one big thing, and now I need to shift the camera for that. Variable phase function generator by Feedback. And let me say, this is a glorious name for a company, and the logo is also very beautiful. So what this does is, it's an oscillator, but it has the ability to shift the phase relationship between its outputs. So you've got a simple sine, but you've got outputs for various positions of that sine wave. You can take an output from the 0 point here, you can take an output from here, you can take an output from here, or from here. So you get 4 different outputs and combinations of those, which is surprisingly exciting for creating rhythms. This is the heart of the whole patch. So as you can see, it adjusts the speed of all the signals. Because I've got outputs of this running into the VCA of this WaveTech oscillator, I've got another output going into the pitch of this WaveTech oscillator, and I've got another output running into a switch that I have here, which switches between 2 signals, but more on that later. I've got another output that adjusts the pitch of an oscillator right here. And then I've got another output that goes into this mixer here. And what this mixer does, you take 3 oscillators, this wave tag, and this wave tag, plug them all in here, have them modulated by this, and then you take one signal from this also in here. And because this is a mixer that was meant for oscilloscopes, it mixes differently. Basically, you get one complex signal out of that, where you can add and subtract signals. So it's sort of a differential mixer, I would say. As you can hear, this is offset. I didn't even know that. I'm basically inverting the different oscillators against each other, which creates all these interesting rhythms. And I can invert them here, offsetting, and I can switch between different inputs, combine them differently. So using a scope mixer, which was meant for displaying various signals on a scope, you can create a complex rhythmic patch, as pulses pull down the signals, cancel them out, and you get a sum that's indeed bigger than the whole, because else these things would all just be droning on if this was a regular mixer. Now, from this heart of the patch, of course, there's a kick drum. And the kick drum is again the Rode and Schwarz UBM, which I made a full video on that you can watch here or there. I never know where the thing pops up. The kick drum is triggered by this pulse generator from HP, which gets its trigger signal again from the variable phase function generator. Because as you might see, the modulation signal is a square wave, and a square wave will generate a trigger signal if it's adjusted correctly for this whole patch. Together, this is the main groove. Now the signal that comes in next was the first one that made me realize this track could work. It's 2 Hewlett-Packard oscillators that are responsible for the lyrical part of this. Both of them are running rather freely, but I combine them rhythmically. I'm doing that by a switch. This is a Heathkit electronic switch, which was also meant for oscilloscopes. So you can take 2 signals and display them on a oscilloscope that can only display one signal. This one is an input for external switching. So I'm again using the function generator to switch between the 2 oscillators rhythmically. Let me show you the different sounds. This is one oscillator, just running like this. And this is the second one. Now these 2 oscillators do pretty complex modulations in themselves already, which is nice. But when you get to switch them, you can always hear there's a little bit of distortion, which is beautiful to my ears. I think the switch is broken, which makes it nicer. So these are switching back and forth. And to give them, of course, some more space, I'm using the Strymon timeline down here. Which makes them lyrical. You might be hearing this swampy signal. The switching process creates a really harsh and aggressive sound, which I filtered away using this filter down here. These crown and height filters are not really musical, but they are very effective at eliminating signals that you don't like. They are powerful in that regard. So I've got this stereo filter here and another one over here. This one also filters the kick drum because there's quite a bit of noise on that UBM. So then there's just one more signal that comes in, which is this one. This is the band pass filter from Brilliant Care. Which of course I also give it some more space. And it just adds a little bit of percussion. It's being triggered by the HP word generator, which I'm going to do a whole video on its own, once I actually understand how it works. So, these are all the signals of the patch. Almost. These are all the live generated signals. Because I'm using this thing too. This 4-track is the final mixer. All the signals come together here. But it also has a tape loop in here, so I can play that and hear different sounds. These are oscillators that I stacked before onto a tape loop. And then can mix in. And pitch, of course. Because it wouldn't be me if it didn't involve some sort of tape looping. Plus, this also helps in keeping the system a bit smaller, as I'm able to basically loop stuff instead of just buying more and more real estate and building a garage on the street or something to house this tower, which has become insanely big compared to what I had hoped for a few months ago. So from this Tascam, everything runs into the Vermona graphic equalizer. Video is there somewhere, because this thing sounds gorgeous, enables me to really fine-tune the whole mix. Then it goes into the big mixer, into a Bug Brand stereo compressor and an SPL vitalizer, which I just used to brighten up the signal a bit more before I go onto the Telefunken M15 tape machine. So this is how I create music with test equipment. It's constantly changing, as each piece of gear that I add to that allows for new methods. You might have realized that I didn't use the programmierbare impulse generator at all, which is an incredibly powerful tool for rhythms. But the thing with all of these is they're really finicky in the way that you can chain them together. They expect certain trigger voltages, and it's not easy to match them all up. The process is always changing. I would never have thought to use a quadrature oscillator as the main rhythm generator for a whole track. But that's just something I tried out as I got this thing and put it in the rack. So do I recommend to make music with test equipment? No, please don't do it. It's like melting a glacier to get this whole thing moving in a musical direction. Everything just wants to fight you, and a lot of things that you get are just these stupid woo, woo, woo sounds that give synthesizers a bad name. I enjoy the process myself because it makes me struggle. This track gave me headaches. I could have whipped something up like this in the modular maybe in 30 minutes or less. But then again, maybe not. Because the struggle to make this musical makes you think in unexpected ways. And it excites me. And it's a beautiful process for me. And it's nice to not have like all the conveniences that you have in a modular, in a DAW, like a quantizer, for example. Everything here is tuned by ear, which I personally enjoy. And the one thing that I also love is, of course, the big knobs. There's so much range in all of these machines that you tend to look for the spaces in between more, instead of going for fast solutions, because there are no fast solutions. So this is really for struggling, fighting, and wrestling something out of the wall in desperation. If you like that, then test equipment could be something for you. But else I would recommend just sticking to modular, and which seems like child's play after trying to make music with test equipment. When I get back to that, it's like, oh, this is all easy. It's a whole different world too. This stuff. So one thing that this has on modular is it's cheaper. is actually much cheaper. I mean, this big oscillator up top cost me, I always think it was 60 euro plus shipping, 30 euro, which was a lot of shipping. Shipping cost is always brutal, but it's amazing. And all these units that you see here were below 100, mostly were between 60 and 70 euros. Try to find that in a modular. But of course, I don't know, I haven't seen my electricity bill yet for this quarter. So I reserve my judgment on if it's cost effective or not. So that's it for this video. If you have any more questions, do leave them in the comments below. If you're interested in the music, I'm putting this up on Patreon, but it will also receive a proper release by the end of the year, hopefully even on vinyl. I'll keep you updated on that. So, thank you for watching and see you in the next one. Bye.